Hey folks, welcome to the July 30th, 2024 SIG Windows community meeting. This meeting will be uploaded to YouTube, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which, if you do not know, translates to be nice and kind to everyone. All right, we'll start with announcements. Test freezes today. So if folks have to get any unit tests, any end-to-end tests in, today's the day. Do you have anything to add to that, Mark or James? Or you just wanted it as an announcement?
Just an FYI, it's
Okay.
7 p.m. Pacific, I think is when they scheduled it.
All right, sounds good. I just want to give a few moments for any new contributors to say hello. Looking at the list of folks, I don't see anyone new, so I think we can just move on. All right, let's start with the agenda. Jose, do you want to say a few words
Sure.
about this?
Thanks, Arvin. All right, I was kind of working downstreaming this PR into OpenShift Kubernetes, and there were some conversation about the needs on do we need or do we want to add like end-to-end test coverage for that. And then going back to the team, we basically would say, hey, maybe the right place to add that is upstream, right? So I'd see there were some conversation from Jordan, the PR, Mark, but do you have any plans to add unit test coverage for these fix, or do you think the unit tests are like fully sufficient?
So there were a couple of unit tests that were added as part of this pull request that test actually setting the file permissions and making sure they stick.
Right.
Updating I think we do have plans to update the end-to-end tests, but the issue that kind of stopped it from coming in with the PR was there are end-to-end tests that currently test for file permissions that get set, but they use one of the EDE test images. And in order to update the EDE test images, that's a couple of other pull requests. There's a pull request that's needed to update the EDE test image. And then some more pull requests to promote the images, so they couldn't come in at the same pull request. And this, so for anybody who doesn't know, this pull request came in as part of kind of a vulnerability, and the guidance from the whatever team that's doing all that is to kind of limit the pull request that goes into just fixing the issue. I think, and there are some plans to follow up and make sure that we're setting file permissions correctly every place else, but I'm guessing that's going to come in 132, given that we're already past code freeze for 131.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I follow.
Yeah, specifically, I think there, like the EDE tests, there's an image that has a utility. I think for Windows, it's a PowerShell script that checks the file permissions, and that script, I believe, was updated by Claudio and does kind of mimic the same behavior as what we're setting here. So it'll check the owner, the group, and then if built-in administrators is set for others. But then there was another piece in the EDE test framework that basically just said, for Windows doesn't set file permissions, so always expect it to be set for equivalent of 777. So when I did try to update the EDE tests, a bunch of them failed because the tests were expecting to have the file permissions not set. So we should be able to update all. We do want to update all. Is that there was one or two cases where that was the case.
So usually, do you recommend tracking this with an issue and we grab it, and probably I can like work on that.
Okay, sure.
Question.
Yep.
Do those changes only apply for the container logs and
Yes.
no other mounted volumes and so on?
Yeah, and that's the other piece of work that I kind of mentioned that needs to happen. So the we're only changing the permissions on a couple of directories that are set by the kubelet at startup. There is some code paths in the volume mount utilities that do, so when we're kind of setting up all of the volume mounts to be projected into a container, we do, on Linux, there's a bunch of work that happens with that to, first it checks to see if it needs to update any of the file permissions and other things, and then does it. On Windows, that just no ops right away. So even if we tell, even if you set the volume mount permissions in like the pod spec, and even though now we have the ability to set permissions in Kubernetes code, the volume mounting utility package just says this is Windows, we can't set volume mount, or we can't set permissions, so don't do anything. And that was kind of a law, there was a lot to unravel there. So that's why that didn't go in as part of this. So we do need to address that. And that's where most of the unit tests were, or the end-to-end tests were testing, and that, yeah, all of that needs to be updated and addressed.
Yeah, asking because it is something similar to what I have been trying to do in the past. So I probably still have a couple of things which are still proposed, but it's fine, they can be reused. I did also merge a couple of things in the Golang language itself in the libraries, which would simplify all the code that's very Windows specific, which is here. So probably in the future we might be able to simplify the Windows utils for that.
Yeah,
So,
I saw that, and I believe I included you in some of the discussions in Slack around the fix, Claudio. This fix needed to get backported all the way to 127, and that wouldn't, the versions of Golang that had the updates to set the individual aces, I think was your change,
yeah.
weren't in the older versions of Go. So this change was a change that could go into all of the different versions of Kubernetes that were being supported without requiring any mod or vendoring updates. And I think in the future we can definitely use the changes that you introduced.
One other thing which I'd like to mention is that the unit tests introduced in the pull request mentioned there, they are failing in our CI. So there's something that
Okay,
should be
take a
taken
look at that.
into account as well. So asking if anyone has had any chance to look at those.
I didn't, but I will take a look. They were passing at some point. Maybe it's environmental. But we'll try and fix it either way.
Cool.
And I linked to the volume package where basically just says we can't set file permissions on Windows. We'll need to probably work with SIG storage to resolve all of that.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Jose, for bringing this up and volunteering to get this upstreamed.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
We can move on to the next agenda item. Is that you, James? Community test migration update? Or was that Ritika?
Yeah, I put it on there. So I don't want to put Ritika on the spot, but I just wanted to give everybody an update that we did move all the jobs for SIG Windows to the community infrastructure. The first link there is the Terraform that sets up the subscription. That this subscription is kind of managed by SIG Test Infra and SIG Testing. There's a ton of stuff in there that Ratika's done. And there's more to come. I think there's a couple open PRs. At this point, all the tests have migrated. If you see any failing, let us know. I linked to an issue where we're tracking. There's like 2 or 3 that I know that are failing because of the migration, either missing infrastructure or something else went wrong. But all our main jobs are passing right now, so on the release jobs, and as far as I know. And so, yeah, just wanted to let everybody know that that's where we're at now. We had to get this done by August 1st, and so we got it all done, which is great. And thank you to Ratika for helping out and doing a lot of the work there.
Yeah, that's great news, James. Just a question. I know that the node log test that I'd added were failing with that weird error that we saw before. Do I need to do something there, or would that start passing now?
That's that's one of the issues that's in that issue that I'm kind of tracking all the different things in. If anybody wants to step in and help out with any of these, just raise your hand and let me know, and we can get you pointed in the right direction. Now that all the infrastructure is owned by the community and it's not kind of like this black box anymore, we can it should be a little bit easier to kind of diagnose some stuff. As far as what's going on there, I think we switched everything away from using service principals. And so there are no service principal secrets inside the Azure subscription. And so I think something happened with the test that is using a service principal in some way. And it needs to be rewired to use a managed identity. Just haven't gotten a chance to look at it. So if you have a chance to try it out, that's great. But I think that's probably what's happening.
Yeah, I did see if I have some cycles to look at it. I don't know much about the Azure like identity management stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I remember, I was just running some script in the Cabzy repo to just bring this up. So yeah, I don't know, maybe that script needs some fixing, but I thought we had other jobs that were using the same.
Yeah, we've migrated all those. I quickly looked and it looked like maybe something around the SSH wasn't working right, and so we
correct. Yeah,
when we were updating
that. I know very little about the Azure stuff, but I can see if I have some cycles to take a look. But this is great news. We've hit the deadline. So
yeah,
nice work, James and Ritika. All right. If folks don't have any further questions about the community test migration, we can move on to the next topic, which is Pedro. Go for it.
Yeah, I added a couple of things. First one, yeah, we have this kind of old issue in Calico that this Windows September 2023 update breaks BGP functionality. I confess I haven't looked at it in a while, but yeah, this popped up in my radar again, and I had a lot of trouble just reproducing, like getting a Windows box set up like in a cloud provider, and having this update like applied or available. I wonder if you folks have any like tips for me to be able to reproduce that. I remember I tried Azure and AWS, but on one of them I couldn't apply the upgrade, just having errors. And I think on AWS it didn't show up as available. Not sure if that even like changed now.
Yeah, so you won't even be able to use BGP on Azure at all. So I think that's a no, like can't even start trying to test it on that. BGP doesn't work in Azure, so as far as I know. And so yeah, I don't really have a great answer here, other than maybe like setting up some VMs on like a local machine. I'm not sure about AWS.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, it was worth a shot. Thank you. And well, then the next point is also from me. It's just I was we pulled in a PR from Ritika, changing the way we treated our HNS endpoints. And previously, we would consider them as stale if we didn't have any shared containers. But I think, Ritika, please chime in if I say anything wrong. But if I think it's that's not possible for Hyper-V, I guess, something like that. So we changed the logic to look at the endpoint state. But yeah, that basically like broke policies for Windows. And with some extra debug logging, I saw that we have this state detach, which was something considered not active, and but it had shared containers, so it was being skipped and it should not. I basically reverted that change. I remember this being needed for some of your testing or something. So just yeah, maybe announce that and ask Ritika if there's an update on that. But yeah, it was just like yesterday.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing it up yesterday, Pedro. I haven't gotten a chance to look at it, but yes, that doesn't seem like it seems incorrect. Like if it's indeed at state, it shouldn't have shared containers on it. And I'm going to try and repro the whole thing, and I'll get the logs. I'll figure it out. I'll try to understand why is that happening, and I'll get back on this with an answer. But I just wanted to also bring it up that I'm off for the next week. So I know, Pedro, you guys are trying to get the patch out early August. So maybe this doesn't get into the patch if I don't have a solution by this week, by like Thursday, Friday. Yeah, and I get back and look at it. That's
Thanks for
on the
letting us-
timelines.
Uh-huh.
All right, thanks, Pedro, for bringing these issues up. If there's nothing further to add, we could bring the meeting to a close and give everybody back 2 minutes. All right, I'm stopping the recording, folks. See you all on Slack.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.